Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Hey, docs, welcome to another episode. I got a great interview with Attorney Drew Kapneck, and we're going to dive into all things relationship building, managing cases. And, we're not going to make it state-based. Drew is local here to South Florida. He's now a friend of mine, and he's just someone that's really built a great firm quickly. It's someone that I really like to bounce ideas off of and wanted to share some of his ideas on how he got started quickly, how he's done such a great job of building relationships, some of the things that he does to actually cultivate relationships. A question I get a lot from chiropractors is, okay, it's one thing to meet someone, but how do I actually cultivate that relationship into maybe a referral partnership? And we talk about that. And then we really do dive into case management. Like, what are attorneys looking for from chiropractors when you're working together on a case? And we dive into that. Again, it's not Florida specific. It's just gonna be general, but very helpful. And what he looks for from chiropractors to say, okay, this chiropractor really knows what they're doing, and I feel comfortable working with them. And so we talk about that in this episode. Really good episode. Drew's got a lot of great insights on it. It's someone that's done a great job in a short period of time of building a lot of relationships that are actually fruitful and deep relationships, not just surface level stuff. And so I'm excited to have him on the show today. Before we dive into that, I want to make mention I'm excited for my next public speaking event. I just got back from MPI Sports Summit, and that was amazing. Just a great time. Enjoyed speaking. Enjoyed actually getting my hands dirty there in the workshop on all things spine, and that was really cool to connect and do that. And I'm looking forward to it again, May 6th in Washington D.C. with Jay Greenstein's event, and that is your Business Adjustment Summit for entrepreneur chiropractors looking to exponentially level up their business. It's a Saturday, May 6th. There is a Friday reception at night, and there is a dinner available on the Saturday night with everybody. And I'm excited for this lineup. It's going to be Jay himself. He's going to be talking about leadership. I'll be speaking on marketing and really uh, marketing throughout the entire patient life cycle, like actual learn how to do some really good marketing with that. I'm going to dive into for 90 minutes. Then we got Joey Coleman actually coming and talking about the patient experience. If you're not familiar with Joey, he's written the book on the customer experience and he knows a lot about chiropractic and works with chiropractors. So he's able to tweak it to say the patient experience. And if you haven't heard him speak before, you actually can go to episode 235. He was on our podcast, and that was called Never Lose a Patient Again. The name of his book was Never Lose a Customer Again. But he's just a wealth of knowledge and really excited to have him come speak on patients. And then we have Christy Hudson of Chiro Health USA talking about technology. And we also have Brad Cost, who is talking about revenue and the three secrets to stop losing money in your practice. He knows everything about numbers and data and the finances of practice, and he's going to really dive into that. So I'm excited for this lineup. It's going to be just really a lot of stuff you can apply. It's not going to be theory, it's going to be applicable. And so check us out, register at bit.ly/biz adjustment and sign up, enjoy it. We're going to have a lot of cool things. We'll be accessible and trying to help out chiropractors grow their practice. All right, without further ado, here is my episode with Drew Kapneck. All right, welcome to the show, Drew. I really appreciate your time today. Before we dive into our topic, tell us a little bit about yourself personally and professionally, and then we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me. And I am a personal injury lawyer in South Florida. I practice all over the state as well as in some other states, New York, New Jersey, DC, Maryland. I'm originally from New Jersey, came down to South Florida via University of Miami and loved it so much down here in the sunny weather. I stayed down here for law school and met you shortly thereafter. So that's kind of my story and got my law firm going now. We're in Boca Raton downtown by Meisner Park. So if anybody needs a good lawyer in the area, just let me know. Drew Kapneck.
Yeah, always always on point with that. And so one of the things I wanted to dive in, I wanted to have you on the podcast because you are on the younger side of building a business and building, a reputation area, getting to know a lot of people. And, it's just interesting to see that. And I know we're going to dive into some topics that aren't just state based, like Florida, because obviously personal injury can be pretty
Right.
state based, but we're going to dive into topics that are going to help all chiropractors, no matter where they're at. And one of the things was like interesting how we did meet. And it was, a lot of chiropractors I talk to are always unsure of how to start meeting people and getting to know people. And, one of the ways is kind of how we met. I know it was like a third party. It was someone that it was a patient of mine. I had a relationship with him outside of just patient care, where there was a connection through some of the sports stuff we were doing in our practice. And then the office you were at before happened to be right next to him. And he just said, "Hey, you gotta meet this guy, Drew." And so we kinda texted, and that was probably what, 5 or 6 years ago now?
Yeah, maybe longer than that. Yeah, maybe like 7
Yeah.
years or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and, and I meet a lot of people, but it doesn't always pan out, but then sometimes it does, and you build a really good, professional relationship, and even, I would consider you a friend at this point.
Yeah.
And so, to meet people, you can definitely leverage existing contacts you have or, just get out there and do a lot of things. And so one of the things I actually wanted to jump right out of the gates with, because, you are newer to this in the grand scheme of things, you've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now, but it's still early on and you're in your 30s. What has been some of the things that you've done, because you've done such a good job of getting out, and a lot of people know you in the area, and I think that really translates to chiropractors as well. So what are some of the things you've done to actually do that, to get to know a lot of people, meet a lot of people, be pretty well known in the area in such a short time?
Yeah, and I appreciate you recognizing that because that's definitely been a goal of mine is to just get my name out there, meet as many people as I can, press as many palms as you can. That just increases your chances to, get more clients and patients. And for what we do as doctors and lawyers, fortunately, everybody needs our services at one point or another. Unfortunately, also, when people do need our services, they're hurt or, they're in pain or they're not feeling well. So it's not something that you want to be like, I guess, shoving down people's throats, like, hey, you need to call me or you need to come, see me. But, you want to let them know that you are there in case they do need you. And it's really just recency, staying in people's minds, whether it be a cool Facebook post here and there. Hey, this is a
Mhm.
picture of me out fishing with my dad or with my family. And I think people really, relate to that and they trust that and they, see you as a good member of the community. And, and again, to touch on what you said about, how not every relationship that you might foster sticks because, now you and I have developed more of this friendship. Yeah, it's definitely, you're going to meet a lot of people and you're not going to get along the same way with every single person. And you're not going to do the same amount of business with every single person that you meet. But, yeah, those people that you do meet and you do find those common denominators with, whether it's, trust or just having things in common about what you like to do in your free time or, how you came up business-wise and, starting your businesses at the same time, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, you just hang on to those things and you continue to just touch base with those people. I remember, once you and I started talk, because I wanted to be in the sports business, and I think
Yeah.
that's initially how we connected. Cause Sid, back to, the person that you were saying connected us, he knew that I was into sports because my law firm was right next to his, office back in Del Rey, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta meet my guy Kevin, he works out with all the NFL guys," and, we just continued to follow up, you and I, after we met the first time, and you
Mhm.
brought me to some of the sessions that you were doing
Yeah.
with the athletes and some of your patients, and I think that was really cool for me to see that, and, it gave me more of a behind the scenes as to who you are as a person and how you help people, and, seeing what you do like that really made me say, "Okay, now I can tell my clients about what Kevin does," and, just continuing to spend time with people and, lawyers and chiropractors just develop those genuine bonds. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on something because one of the pain points that a lot of chiropractors talk to me about is they may meet somebody, right? Like they may go out and they start meeting people and they always ask, like, how do I cultivate that relationship further? Like, how often do I touch base with them? How do I go from, okay, I met you once to now refer back and forth, whether it's an attorney or it's it could be a fitness trainer, it could be a golf professional. I mean, there's a lot of different types of people, but you've been good at cultivating relationships. And so, what are some of your thoughts on how you've gone from, okay, we've had one meeting together to someone that we now trust to kind of refer back and forth. Any insights on that? I know it's a loaded question, but it's something that a lot of chiropractors ask me about.
Yeah, and you and I have had a lot of history together, personally, professionally. So, I am able to kind of peel back the layers on this a little bit. And I think at first, after you first meet somebody, it's a lot of yeah, touching base, whether it be once a month or after you have that initial meeting, get their business card, send a follow-up email. Hey, it was great to have coffee with you, or if you want to stop by my office next week, this is my address. And invite people to come see what you do, like I said. I also am a big believer in just like journaling, like a networking notebook. Keep a list of everybody who you spoke to that day, whether it's three or four or five names, just write them down, put their phone number, their email. And I think it, helps with organization to see, okay, I met these people last week. This is what I learned from them. I'm going to shoot them emails next week and just follow up. And I think keeping in contact, like I said, in the beginning, that recency just being in people's minds makes them think, okay, then if they have a friend that got hurt, they're gonna call
Mhm.
you. That's gonna be the next phone call because you were the last person that, touched base with them, called them, see how they're doing, whether it's, hey, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas. I think it's important to just continually touch base and, everybody will have their intervals that they think is proper, whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, whatever. But, it's important to just, connect, reconnect with people and show them that you want to have that relationship and, not necessarily just about business, but that you genuinely want to get to know this person. Um, yeah, I'm a big believer in, getting business cards, handing out business cards,
Mhm.
keeping track, by having a journal or a diary, something like that.
Yeah, I like that. And I know, I think a couple things on my mind from what you said is, sometimes it's not about business, right? Like I know you and I grab coffee every so often. You, Jesse, and myself, we went and grabbed drinks and dinner a couple weeks ago at that cool whiskey bar. That was fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes just like, have a good time. So it doesn't always have to be about business. And then I think another thing is I always think about like, how can I be useful to that person versus how can that person be useful to me? I probably understand that, but like, how can I be useful to them and help them out, wherever it may be, right? So that's something that I try to do as well.
Yeah, I think no matter where you are in the country or the world, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, you can offer a service to people that they might not immediately need, like while you're sitting there having that coffee with them. But you just want to let them know, hey, I'm here for you in case anything does happen. And you just continue to just check in with them. Let them know that you care, that you're genuine. And, that really does go a long way. When you put that kind of stuff out there into the universe, so to speak, it definitely comes back to you.
Okay, perfect. So that's kind of some ideas on cultivating the relationship further. How have you seen or how do you recommend chiropractors? So like put yourself in the shoes. Obviously, you've met with plenty of chiropractors before, but what would you recommend to the chiropractor on actually establishing that relationship with the personal injury attorney, like from the get-go? Like what are some of the things that you've done or you've seen other chiropractors do that have really helped to kind of get the awareness around that, I'm a good chiropractor, I'm gonna be an advocate for that patient. But what are some of the things that you've seen?
Yeah, again, like you did with me when we first met, which was really, just speaks leaps and bounds about the kind of person that you are. You're very inviting, and you invited me to your office and to your symposiums and your training sessions and everything to see in person what you were doing. And I think, if you can invite, if chiropractors can invite lawyers to things like that, and they can, witness what the chiropractor is actually doing with patients and see the treatment firsthand, come into the office, maybe even test out a couple things. I remember one time let me test out the cryo machine.
Yeah.
Uh, was pretty fun. And, so yeah, stuff like that, I think really, I'm a big believer also in the, I guess, visual learning. So if I can see stuff in person, it's better than, kind of just talking about it over coffee or at lunch or something. And then, I think also just, I mean, it's kind of ironic how this happened, but, I was actually one of your patients.
Yeah.
And I think, me being a patient of yours, after I got into an accident on my own and just, being vested in the process, your, philosophies and your MO, I mean, I was facing surgery, I remember, on my shoulder, and, I worked with you and your guys for a few months, and I was able to avoid that, so I'm still grateful for that today, and just being part of that process, I bought in, so to speak. I was and then I kinda think our business together really took off after that too, because I was, like, able to then share my story with my clients and say, "Hey, look, this was my doctor when I got into an accident. I've been in your position. I've done the treatment routines, that Dr. Christie is gonna recommend, and it's brought me, across the finish line, both physically and helped my case and all this stuff." So, I think that that's important too to see things, firsthand and see what people are doing. So if you've got a cool new machine in your office, or if you've got, something that you think sets you apart from other doctors, invite your lawyer buddies in to check it out and try it out. And, I guarantee you that you're going to be like very first on their mind when they get that call, the next day for a new client that comes in. So I think
Yeah.
that's important.
And I think, a lot of our audience, chiropractors, they do a unique type of service. And one of the things that we always try to do, because, we are more sports chiropractic, we've got a nice office, we are certified in certain techniques that are great for, say whiplash and other injuries, and we can rehab shoulders like yours and all that. So I always wanted to position ourselves as that, because it is a little bit different than a lot of, say, the personal injury chiropractors, at least in our area. And the chiropractors out there is position yourself as that unique option, right?
Yeah.
And then spotlight that, and obviously, if you can get the attorney to come to your office, do a tour of the office, meet your team. Most likely, the chiropractors listening have a nice office, a much friendlier team than a lot of other types of doctors, have some unique services that are an alternative to the traditional, and so it can be something that can definitely separate yourself, and that was something I always try to do, whether I'm meeting with a tennis professional or a medical doctor or a personal injury attorney. Like, I want them to see, like, this is what we do. This is what because they probably have, honestly, and this, like, they probably have a preconceived notion of what a chiropractor is, and sometimes it's not great, right? And so you want to definitely,
Well, personal
um,
injury lawyers probably have that notion too.
yeah, they do. We kind of have to deal with that, and so most of us who are on the up and up and have a great offering, we can kind of counteract that a little bit and show, like, look, this is how we are. This is who we are. We're
Yeah.
different than that, and
Well,
give a
and
different
yeah.
perception of it.
Yeah, it goes to, back to what we were saying earlier. Our services are not something that are like, you want to market, in glitter and gold to everybody, because usually when people need our services, they're hurt, they're upset, they're depressed, they're scared, they're nervous. So when we are, essentially pitching what we can do, we have to be careful about not being too aggressive, not stepping on people's toes, let it being more inviting and welcoming and saying, "Hey, look, this is what we're going to do for you." Point them to past clients who have been with you, testimonials, things like that. And I know I can do that for you. Right off the bat, when I'm speaking to clients, hey, you should call Kevin because I've actually been one of his patients.
Mhm.
And I think also, another thing that, doctors and lawyers can do to, um, establish relationships with each other is just identify with people that you have more things in common with. I mean, I think that, we're kind of similar in age. We both like sports. For me, when I came into your office and I saw all the jerseys hanging on the wall signed by your past clients, players, stuff like that, that was cool for me. And I have a lot of clients that can relate to that, as opposed to, some, stuffy older lawyer, maybe or doctor who might not be, in your time or your essentially, I guess, age range of who your clients are. For example, I'm not going to go market to some chiropractor who's like, older and maybe, retiring soon. I want to be with somebody like you who I can, keep in touch with the times and the laws and the practices and all that kind of stuff with.
And that's why I think sometimes those young professional groups are so good. I'm not sure if you've ever been part of one of those or not, but I know when I started really networking a lot when I was 28, 29, there's still certain people that I know to this day from that, and we just kinda came up the ranks, whether it was other doctors, like, I'm friends with an orthopedic surgeon now who I've known for a long time, younger guy, obviously, you like so you those some of those young professional things can be great, and, you, as the audience listening, you might be in an area that doesn't have a young professionals group, and you could start that, right? Like, I one of the things I've always respected was, my mentor, Dr. Andy Wassman, who I've talked about before on here, but I remember when I worked for him back in '05, '06, '07. He I think years prior had started his own networking group in the town. It was his own, own thing that he coordinated and ran, and it was very fruitful. So if you're a younger DC out there in a town that doesn't have anything for young professionals, start a group, and see what you can do with that. That could be something that could help cultivate relationships.
And
All right, let's go ahead.
I was gonna say, just going with the theme of your podcast, modern chiropractic marketing, it's always good to align and identify with people who are, doing the same type of or servicing the same type of demographic essentially that you are. So, you know, you wouldn't want to spin your wheels, wasting your time trying to get business from a lawyer whose clients are maybe all geriatric if that's not, specific to what your chiropractic practice is. I know for you it's modern, it's sports, it's new medicine. So, I know that my younger clients, for example, which I, have a lot of, they love going to your office.
All right, Docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly propelmcm, modern chiropractic marketing, right? And so check out that link. And we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. Cool. Awesome. Let's segue into our last topic. It's a little bit of a meaty topic for sure, but what do attorneys really look for from chiropractors to make your life easier as the attorney, to make the patient's life easier? And there's a lot of moving parts to a legal case. So what are some of the things? Because I'm sure you've run into some nightmares, but what would you recommend to the chiropractor to
Done
really?
with your office.
That's good. That's good. We try.
Yeah.
We definitely try to. So, we've made mistakes for sure over the years, but we really try to lock that in. But what are some of the things you really look for to make your life easier?
Well, again, I think it's I appreciate guys like you who I know that I can call you on a Saturday and you're going to pick up and you're going to, get the intake going for a new client. And I know that, now I've established a relationship with you where I essentially have like a bat phone into you're on my speed dial.
Nice.
So, it's that genuine trust, genuine relationships, just the stuff that we've developed behind the scenes that leads to that trust, when we're, so to speak, in between the lines of our playing field, which is the chiropractor's office or the lawyer's office. So I know that based on everything that we've done together, whether personal or business, I can trust you to take good care of my clients. So, that's first and foremost. And then obviously the good notes, just organized notes, timely reports, not having to hound a doctor's office for a month. Hey, where's the report? You guys always get the reports back to my office from a client or a patient rather, within days, hours even of that client being seen by you guys. So we do appreciate that because you understand that, the business of the lawyer doctor relationship and that case that's involved. There's deadlines, there's statutes, there's insurance claims, things that need to be met. So sometimes, the lawyers do need to get those documents to the insurance companies within a certain time frame so that we can get everybody paid, the doctors, the lawyers, the clients. So, that's very important not to let that kind of stuff go stale. I also think that the quarterbacking of the case, just to use a sports term, is something that I really look for in a chiropractor as a personal injury lawyer, somebody that does have those relationships, like you said, with other doctors in the community, whether it's, surgeons or just MRI facilities, pain management. I can trust that when I give a client to you initially, you're going to direct them in the right way, whether they need diagnostic testing, whether they have a headache and they need to go see a neurologist, whether they're just having that, nagging injury that you think might need surgery and they need to see a surgeon, that you can go direct them and then, be the gatekeeper of the case, so to speak. Catching those key diagnoses early on in the treatment. We look to your office to put that stuff in the notes. If a client has a head injury or something like that, that needs to be noted very early on and not left, months later for like an orthopedic to get it. So, I think the chiropractor just being on top of it early, just being very thorough with the notes, have a good note taking system, make it something easy to read. I don't know why some of these doctors still do the chicken scratch thing. I mean, if you do
Still
if you're
there.
doing it if you're doing it works for you, that's great, but it's definitely not easy for the lawyers and the insurance companies to decipher. So if you are one of those doctors and you're getting some, I don't know, like delays on getting your cases settled, that could be a reason. Maybe you need to switch over to a more modern note-taking system because, I think what hits the bells, so to speak, on some of these cases is, like I said, just having those key diagnostic codes in the records, identifying significant injuries that you determine may, be catastrophic down the line, and just kind of making sure that the client has that good roadmap going forward.
Yeah, and I wanna, spotlight a few things and kinda touch on what you said. Obviously, I think the chiropractor needs to really understand the state or your country's, rules and regulations and laws around the PI. Like Florida we're in is really complicated, and it's changing. There's legislation right now, that's going through potentially, but you gotta know there's, like, a lot of little things that you wanna understand about it, right? Like, in Florida, there's a weird thing now where and it's been for quite a few years now, but the $10,000 in PIP insurance coverage is only there if they see a medical provider or a chiropractor in 14 days, right? And you gotta like, that's something we have to know, right? And, like, if that patient calls us and it's the 12th day, we really try to get them in before that 14 day, and that helps everybody, right? Obviously, that's a unique situation, but the moral of the story is know those little nuances within your particular regulations and laws and really have an understanding of that so you don't miss those things. I think a second thing is understanding that these are legal cases. It's gonna be a little bit different than your non-legal cases. Like, you could have 2 patients, all things being equal, one's a auto accident, one's a sports injury. There's just gonna be a little bit different processes. Like, you're gonna have to understand there's a legal case going on, so the documentation has to be on point. There's probably gonna have to be a referral to a specialist. It's probably gonna have to be imaging. Like, there's just some things that you have to consider that's different because of the legal. And then third, one of the things we've done to really help with all these things is we developed like a patient tracking sheet where we track all those things. Like, okay, what orthopedist did we send to? What imaging did they have? Who's the attorney? What's the claim number? Like all the things that you would want is there so that if we need to access it as the doctor or if the attorney's asking or whatever, Kayla at our front can just access it and get that information right away. And so we didn't do that up until like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just always like trying to, treasure hunt for the piece of information we were looking for. And we found that being able to really manage that, like you said, this part of quarterbacking has really
Yeah.
made everybody's life easier.
Yeah. Yeah, those, like, medical timelines and stuff, and yeah, I mean, and, again, I know obviously clients are coming to you to try to avoid surgery, but yeah, the case in a legal context almost needs to read like a novel. You have this client who was innocently driving down the road. All of a sudden, they get creamed by this at-fault driver. Their job is at stake. Their medical bills are piling up. This is what do they do? The next step is they go see their local go-to spine physician who's going to quarterback things for them and keep them in good hands. That's you. And obviously we tried to avoid, having them go to the extreme treatment measures, but in the context of that legal story, yes, you want to get that imaging so that you can see exactly what you're working on to benefit you and to benefit the patient. And if they're complaining of unresolved, issues, whether it's radicular, involving nerve pain, things like that, that they go see the proper doctors after that. It just, kind of brings everything full circle. And yeah, you need to be cognizant of that as the quarterback of the case so that things don't get stagnant or stale. And also, it's important to, just make sure that you're continually engaging the client. Some of these clients are young kids, they don't keep track of time or schedule, stuff like that. So, having those organized systems in place definitely help.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think, again, it's a legal case and you got to almost understand that you have to prepare for it like it's going to go to court, right?
Right. Your notes are
Not
evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, and um, I think that's something we forget as doctors is that you gotta treat this legal case as if it was gonna go to court. There's a good chance it's not, but as if it was, your notes, that's why imaging is important because, just what palpated as a chiropractor isn't going to hold up fully in
Right.
court if there's not advanced imaging, and, I think collaborating with the other providers is important on our end
Yeah.
if they end up at the neurosurgeon's office and they got the imaging and the neuro is recommending something, I don't step on the neuro's toes, right? Like okay, I'm quarterbacking this thing, but now this particular aspect of it's in that specialist's hands and there's going to be communication between us and there's going to be communication between you and us. Like it's just it becomes a team effort. And I kind of like that about it, right? It can be sometimes frustrating if one of the medical providers or imaging centers is dragging her feet on stuff. We all have seen that, but I like the collaboration aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, when you take on that legal case and you decide to open up your practice to personal injury cases or working with lawyers, yeah, then you almost have to step into the Superman phone booth, so to speak, when you're bringing in that legal client, and you have to sit down with that client, and almost think in your head, okay, I have to treat this client and almost prepare for what if I get my deposition taken on this case and asked about this client's care and treatment and the necessity of treatment and the necessity of, the referrals and the bills and all that stuff. So you definitely need to kind of have that approach when you're bringing on those cases. And I remember even when we first met, you were kind of new with getting into the PI stuff, or you were trying to expand that part of your practice. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, that's another good reason to just be friends with lawyers too. I mean, if you do get called for a deposition, reach out to your lawyer buddy. Hey, what kind of questions are they going to ask me? What can I expect? What kind of questions have you seen in the past? And it's a really good way to kind of just have that, seamless confidence throughout your practice, and know that whatever you do, you're going to be able to back up, and you're going to, have the support and when other lawyers see that, they're going to want to send their clients to you, and clients who have seen you before are going to want to send their family members and friends to you. And, the more that you kind of just refine yourself and, prepare for that kind of stuff, it's all going to come back to you at the end of the day. You're going to get you know, good reviews, you're gonna get more clients, your reputation is gonna be enhanced. It's all hand in hand.
Yeah, and one thing, like you said, when we try to improve our quality of personal injury, care and management, one of the things I did do to help cultivate relationships was like ask some attorneys, like, what's the story behind this 14-day rule, or like, or even ask them like, how can I make your life easier? Like really use them as experts in that and learn from it. And they'll appreciate your kind of open mindedness to getting better at quarterbacking these cases and being a valuable asset to not only your client, but obviously you as the attorney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Drew, I really want to appreciate your time today. This was awesome. This was insightful. I think one of the things I really wanted to get out of this for my audience was definitely how you can go at this the right way, build great, solid relationships, and you can quickly position yourself as an expert in whatever field in your community to really be a go-to and just do it the right way and start to know and get to know people and cultivate those relationships, and a lot of things will come your way. So thank you.
I think most of the people listening to this podcast are not only doctors or lawyers per se, but we're also entrepreneurs, and it's important to wear both of those hats and, be diligent with your note taking and your practicing skills, but also be personable and get out there in the community and, meet new people and foster those relationships. It's important to do both.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Drew.
Thanks a lot, Kev.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.